This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography.
Hi, and welcome to the Small Business Leaders Podcast, coming to you from the Legacy Podcast Studio in historic downtown Kernersville, North Carolina. My name's Lamar Powell, and this is my amazing co-host, Audra Adams.
Thank you so much. My name is Audra Adams, and on this episode today, we are going to define, outline, and look towards the future of Legacy Podcast Studios, what we've learned, what we've put into practice, and what our goals are for the future. And it's not just us at the table today. We have our full team here. So we welcome Daniel Midkiff back to the table. Well, we got you back to the table, Daniel, in short order.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Well,
So the whole team here wanted to have some discussions about our triumphs, what we've learned, where we're going. And so this is one of those kind of workshop sessions, I would say.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah, well, or a team meeting, or let everybody know that you have to do these kinds of things in situations like this where you have more than one person. You've got
Absolutely.
to come together, be on the same pages, and then, you know, what flows from there, what I've found that flows from that is you make more goals, and then you decide how to collaborate further. But anyway, let's start with just that, our collaborations at this point.
So when we got all of this started, there was a lot of conversation about putting this together, and so we all came to the table with different ideas,
Yeah.
and then you start chipping away at those ideas, one small step at a time, and then you begin to see. It's like working a puzzle, one of those large puzzles. And a lot of times I know with me, I will do the outline. I'm going to find all the pieces that have the outside edge. And then while I'm looking at the box, getting some information, begin putting those pieces together. And then once I have that frame or a part of that, then begin to fill in there. And it's sort of like that's what we've done with our studio is started with some ideas, begin to collaborate on those, and then begin to take a piece at a time and put it together. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, and so we want to let our viewers and our listeners know, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. Anything that you even see or hear today, it didn't just occur. There's a lot of foundation building and infrastructure building to even get to the point that we are now. And that, to me, tells a story of how we communicate, and for our personal thing, how we communicate, and then how each one of us know our part. I'm the outliner. I get the box together, and then comes Daniel, and then comes me, and we're always taking away, putting in ideas,
right.
just to see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then checking back in with one another just to make sure that, we don't always do a great job of not dropping the ball, but to see who's got the ball.
Right.
And where,
How far along?
what game we're playing.
Yeah.
So that's a big, sometimes it's a challenge
Yeah.
for us. I mean, because we're all doing different things throughout our weeks and whatnot. And to get back here on a schedule and say, hey, okay, we're going to do this and have something to do.
Right.
At the time we intend to do something and it come out.
Well, one of the ways that we do that could be a little bit of a tip for who's listening and watching is we did create one calendar in our cell phones, that when bookings happen or, things that we are all made aware and are on the same page with technology to help us know. I don't have to call Lamar and say, hey, are you coming today, or
Right.
are you going to be wherever? So it makes it a little cohesive in that way.
And it's also inexpensive. I mean,
Right.
it's not like one of these subscription-based project management
Right.
softwares. It's an easy kind of like a hack, I guess, for doing business on this level. We don't have a whole lot of objectives that we can outline throughout the day, throughout the week. So one of those softwares would be kind of overkill for us right now. So yeah, that's a big plus to be able to do that and to kind of make sure we're all looking at it.
Yeah.
Checking our emails and things like that, right?
And you have different,
That was a good one.
different
Okay.
personalities
That's
too,
that's
with
good.
different skill sets that are able to bring those different skill sets to the table. And all of us, are different in that way. So we have to have something. We're all working on different things, but we have to have something that brings us up together at this table to create what we create.
So, speaking of what we've created so far, that's kind of, I kind of want to talk about that, because where we started, 20 episodes ago, maybe 30 by now, I don't know. We're getting close. We've learned so much, and we've pivoted on a lot of things. Down to, I don't know, y'all talk. We've learned so much from the people, our guests, that have been sitting across from us. And we've implemented some of the things that they have said works for them. So we are getting a benefit out of just interviewing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, again, that goes back to, each of us individually are gaining insight as we move forward with all of this, from our guests and from one another, and the production of all of it, that we're learning and pivoting. But all of that being said, this is my favorite thing in all of this, is to have an idea within my head and have a vision of what that might look like, in my mind, and then to see it come to a reality.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That is what excites me, because this is, again, at the beginning, something that you think about and you have a picture of in your mind, and then to actually see it come together and happen in real time is incredible. It's an incredible feeling for me. And the only way that happens is you just can't keep thinking about it.
That's
You have
true.
to begin to put things into action. And it may not be the perfect plan. And the picture's not always what I have in my mind, but it is, the result is there. The result I'm wanting to see is there. And that's been amazing all the way through this whole process. Even when we first started interviewing people, we weren't quite sure how. I mean, we were having to play off each other. Daniel's having to watch and kind of figure that out and give direction behind the scene. Then you have another personality sitting in the chair. They also have their own idea about things.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you don't always know what to expect.
You
either.
don't,
No.
but you
you
experience it. You walk through that.
You do. I feel like we have found we've extracted the essence of the people that our guests.
Absolutely.
No matter if they were very highly energetic or not, we really have extracted their expertise and what they came to the table for. And so for that, I think we're growing as interviewers. We're not there yet, but I mean, we're not Good Morning America or anything up in here.
Yeah, but they have
And not that we want to be, but
they all
No.
have scripts.
But
yes.
so, I mean, okay, Daniel, what is something that you feel like you're getting better at, or that you've learned in these past episodes?
A lot of the stuff that I do is so much behind the scenes, so it's it's not evident by the people on the microphone or on the camera and all that. So it's just processes that I go through that nobody else knows about. Things that make it easier, make it quicker. Storage and all the fun things.
I mean, that's something that
you have to. It has to be done.
Tech people, listen up right here.
It's just kind of working through your flow and figuring out where you can cut and where you can gain time, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
It all boils down to time, because if you're spending more time than you are, in post or editing or whatever it is, then you're not really gaining anything. You can't sit here for a nominal fee of any kind and spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing something. It just becomes,
right. So
worthless.
you've kind of gotten into a flow that is working.
Yeah, I think so.
For you.
It's much quicker. Everything takes time. Everything is work, that matters.
Sure.
But it's easier every time I get into the editing software. It's faster. I'm making templates all the time just to get things streamlined so that everything is more plug and play. And my goal at that is to create these workflows so that at some point I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
I can say, this is exactly how you do it. It's a cookie cutter for the next person who's going to do this job. And I don't have to worry how it's going to get done because I've already spent this time kind of planning that out and what it looks like.
So you also walk a tightrope in all of this, because you're looking for an end result and navigating how to get to that. You're passionate about what you do because you want the podcast to look good. There's a
different P word though. He's particular.
But
he's passionately particular.
He's passionate and he is particular.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. But he wants to get a certain end result.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to navigate. It's a fine line you have to walk because, again, you're wanting to save time. And there's so many elements to this.
Well, you're balancing all kinds of things. You're balancing the time you have, the people that are in front of you,
mm-hmm.
the amount of funds you have to work with technology and time and all those things. So it's constantly reevaluating every step of the way.
So what would you tell somebody who is thinking about starting a podcast from the more technical side of things? What would you tell them to do? What's step number one?
Step number one.
Let us do it.
Yeah, well, that would be the easy way.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. And it can be done easily, but there are sacrifices you have to make.
Like
so,
what?
There's going to be quality issues. That's a sacrifice. Or there's going to be time.
Yeah.
You're gonna give all your time to this, or you're going to sacrifice on a financial level. If you want all the bells and whistles, then you got to pay for all the bells and whistles.
Right.
So there's all those things to consider, and unless you're, not many people go right out of the gate with monetization of their podcast and all that stuff. So making money from a podcast or a production like this,
down the line.
It's down the line.
Yeah.
So you either invest time or you invest money.
Right. Or you
time.
do both.
Yeah, or both. Yeah.
And then.
So I think if I was starting now, and really we are starting now. We're only 26 so episodes in, and we're finding our foothold in this.
Yeah.
And if I had to tell somebody to do this, I would probably tell them exactly how we did it.
Okay.
Because we did it on a pretty small budget.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Other than the overhead of the building and things like that. But it's actually the production side of it. We've made, all the equipment lists and things like that, as economically as we can. And I think that's
And
one of the
that's
things.
when
Shop the tech, research the tech.
we all did
and-
that, I think, independently and
Right.
together when we started that portion of this. And where we landed on the technical side was not, the premier things,
No.
but it was a wonderful mid, place to start. One thing I've learned from the guests that I sat across from there is to start slowly,
Sure.
but the important part of that statement is to start. So if you have, anything in you that says, I have something to say, and I want an audience at some point to hear it, then do it. You can do it. We looked it up on YouTube too.
Right. When you start, plan it. Don't just everybody has a different approach to everything. I'm not telling you have to prescribe to this line of thought or anything, but it is definitely easier if you have an outline of what you're going to do and a kind of a program of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And it keeps you on task. It keeps you accountable to yourself if you're the only one in the room.
Yeah.
You have a way to kind of gauge what you're doing. But if you don't have any kind of outline or parameters, you're just kind of like floating along. And there's no real data to go back to and say, well, I did this, but I'm here now, but what? How do I measure any of this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think getting started is the most important thing. And we're talking about our podcast, but it applies to anybody who is an entrepreneur
Sure.
or a small business owner. Whether you start something yourself or you're franchised, the best thing to do, and you need a system, you need to try to figure that out in your head, just like you said. That's important. But be willing to jump in, start doing it, and then learn and pivot as you go along.
Yeah.
Because even what makes franchises also real appealing is because they have a lot of the processes figured out. But the problem is that helps to a certain extent, and I've been there. But you also have to do it because even in those processes, they're not foolproof. And it's unique to your situation, your personality, your own business. And we've learned that as we've moved along. So I give that as a tip to an entrepreneur. That thing, you can have a plan, but you got to get started, be willing to
Right.
pivot and grow and learn as you go along.
And I think the other most thing to consider in this type of content creation is to make sure you have the guests to make the content. So you really have to plan, ahead if you possibly can to make sure you have the content available. Now, if it were just me talking, I wouldn't have to worry about that other than what I decided to talk about. So if it's just you singularly or whatever, just have your talking points, have that. If you are in a conversational type situation like we are finding the guest or sometimes they're finding us, that I would say you need to have your ducks in a row. At least give yourself, I would say, a month to 2 months leeway of when you're going to release that, to have further episodes already ready to go. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, wholeheartely. And that's something I wish that we could get ahead on right now. It seems like we're
a little ahead.
We still struggle with that from time to time.
Sure.
We'll get 3-4 episodes behind or ahead, and it kind of like rubber bands back and forth a little bit. And I think that if I had one big goal is to get that calendar booked out as far in advance as we can, so that we don't have to scramble at the last minute to do anything, whatever it is.
Sometimes it's not even, sometimes for me, since I'm the one that books most of the things, sometimes it's the day of something happens to your guest and
Right.
you can't do anything about it. So then you have to decide, what are we going to use this time for? Because all three of us set aside this time to come to this table for this reason. And now how are we going to use that? And so always have something in the back of your mind that you can go to, and we've said pivot a lot in this conversation, but you really do have to be able to pivot on those certain matters.
Just don't be discouraged when things break.
Well, that's
right?
true, yeah.
Because it's going to break, and none of it's going to work out perfectly like you planned it. It may from time to time, but the majority of the times things break.
And life happens.
And yeah, life happens, and you learn from it.
I get it.
Well, there's growing pains.
Yeah.
Any adventure that you're on, you're going to have growing pains. You have to navigate through all of that. And I think for legacy, we have several goals, and one is not only to provide a studio where others can come in with our expertise and create podcasts for them, to take away some of that challenge if they're wanting to do that. But we're also interested in producing our own podcast.
Yeah.
And that's why we started with Small Business Leaders Podcast, because it gives us an opportunity to kind of give back to our community, both in Kernersville and the Triad.
Yeah.
And it gives us an opportunity. But one of the things, and we've talked about this often, is in that particular podcast, the Small Business Leaders Podcast, we were wanting to be able to capture some business insights. And I believe we've done that along the way, and we've learned from that personally.
Yeah,
right?
it's incentivized me in a lot of ways.
Because you hear a lot of common things from business owners and entrepreneurs that you can learn from. But the other thing, too, is for that particular podcast for me has been the stories. Because these personalities have stories.
Yeah.
And I want to hear that. I want to capture that. I want to capture the emotions. I won't talk about one just in particular because it's relevant right now. Is Fitz on Main is a restaurant who had a fire probably 6 months ago or so, half a year ago, as we're recording this. They had such tremendous amount of community support for what they're doing. So we had them in shortly after that, and we were able to capture that in a raw fashion, the emotion of it. I enjoyed that very much because you can experience all the background story. And then the thing is, just recently went in because they're getting ready to reopen here pretty soon, is the smiles on their face when I walked in, the conversation we had, how wonderful it was. It just adds to that story. I hope we can get them back on and talk about this part of their journey, their adventure.
Well, and to that point with guests, when they really start opening up and sharing things, there's a sense that I have that, well, a couple of things. Number one, they felt safe enough to do that with us, with cameras, like they just forget that they're here. Yep. And then the other is gratitude, that they would trust us with this part. I mean, that is very sometimes vulnerable. Whether it was, I can just leave it there. I'm just grateful, and that we get to experience, some of those raw emotions on here, because I know for several episodes, some things some people would say, and I'm like, whoa, I need a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that was happening.
Right.
So I'm learning, and I would say to our viewers, don't try to be anything you're not. Sit down at this microphone. If you can sit on this one, but wherever you're going to create your content, and truly be you and authentic, and not, the world has enough people playing games.
Sure.
Yeah, it needs to be real, and to be able to feel that. We're not just capturing it on film, but to be able to feel that too personally. You felt it.
It changes you.
Yeah, it changes you. So in order to get to that place where we can do that, it takes all of this work
Yeah.
that we've been doing and learning from, in the past up to this point and moving forward.
So it's kind of made us also, it's given us some confidence to move forward. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit as we're moving forward. It is not just we're thinking about moving forward. We are moving forward. We have, Daniel, you can tell about what you've been building here.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been building other areas in the studio to house other podcasts.
Like sets.
Sets, yeah.
Yeah.
So
this
just
is
different
our set.
areas that we can kind of move the cameras around, have the same space, and just have a different look. And we've got, I think, two right now
done
that we're working with, creating new spaces for different styles of podcasts. Like, it's not going to always be the same sit at the table kind of thing. So I'm really excited about being able to transition a space into something that's more versatile. We've got this space for the photography studio, and it's not empty by any means, but it's the backdrops and the stuff and everything gets put away when we're done, and it's just an empty-ish area. But I think now we're kind of transitioning those to more spaces to shoot different things, and we can use them for photography. We can use them for video, podcasts, all those things. And I think that's, for me, that's really exciting to be able to take this space and make it 100% usable.
Yeah, it's got
not just a
space.
holding space for our stuff, and then we go about our other business and then come back here when we have a shoot or something where it's being used over and over and over again.
Being talked about. That's us going back and forth, going on a design level, just designing. Hey, how do we make the most out of the space that we have? But also, what do we want it to look like?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we're still artists. We still have a vision. There's a set that we are building now that is somewhere I want to do my own podcast from, and others do. And it's not this look, although I love this look. It's not this look. It's softer and feels more comfortable.
Yeah, homey.
Yes. So, and to that point, the reason that we really got on the ball with that, with both of them, is because we definitely now are having people come in to start their own podcast, which is a huge, huge win at 6 months in, to gain that kind of confidence from others to say, hey, we like what you're doing. We like how you engineer it. We like how you edit it. All of those things. And then them coming in to start, and we will reveal those things and who they are, and hopefully have you follow them too in their journey as they go. We'll announce that soon.
Yeah, and that's exciting as well, because again, that's another part of the vision.
Yeah.
It's not just us, our personalities involved in this, but to also have different personalities, different types of podcasts. And one of those is in production now, and we've been able to see that. And it was great.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved sitting back and watching the work that was being done on that. And I cannot wait till that is released. And we have another one that's in planning that is getting real close to the production side of it. And I'm excited about that, because that, again, is something you have a picture in my head. Then when we see it actually,
you never know how
done,
it's going to actually work out.
Yes,
right?
And again, and we may have to pivot some. I don't know. We'll see. But it's part of it.
The fun part to even is still using our creative selves.
Yes.
So, I just love doing things from the ground up. I know that's what you're saying, but to put it in play and say that's going to be there, and there's going to be, I don't know. it just,
Well, I think we've always, just in our history, we've always got the most satisfaction out of starting something
and seeing it through.
and seeing it through all the way, no matter how difficult it is. But just having having that little vision and then taking that and making it into the big vision,
Right.
and actual, taking something as an idea and manifesting it into physicality.
And
And I love it.
I
It's
wanna-
magic.
I want to
That's what it
say,
is.
though, what you see is a lot of sweat equity. So I don't
sure.
want anybody to think, oh, this cost, but each set has to be expensive. You need to be creative unless you have the budget. I mean, if you have the budget, fine. But if you don't, then you need to be crafty. You need to be marketplacing it and,
Right.
building it yourself. If you have a saw, we're going to need to use that saw. Just, things like that. And for me, since that I source a lot of the furniture or things
Right.
like that, it's another job that you need to be thinking about if you're in this alone or if you have a team. If you have a team, that's a great way to delegate, to say you
Yeah.
take off. Now, hey, I'm not going to do it without y'all's. I'm not going to push the final button, but I want to have found it.
But you're definitely like secondhand savvy for sure.
Yeah.
That you've got that down. And
Yeah, savvy in a lot of ways. And that's not, again, that's what makes us all different. That's not I don't have an eye for that. I don't have an interest in that. My interests are in other areas.
Yeah,
but
which are great.
Again, that's with a team, you're able, you guys are very good at that. And it's fun to sit back and watch and then see the end result. And so, yeah.
So those few things are coming. They're happening. They've happened. Some of them have already happened, and then the yet to come is. I mean, y'all, the sky's the limit here.
Absolutely.
Really is. We have, a few other things I feel like we need to put into place as far as what we do on an advertising level.
Sure.
Those kind of things are where we're learning and growing. We have, and I would say this to our listeners and viewers as well, we have released some control to an extent for some things to hire things out when we can, because I don't know how many people and guests have sat across from us and said, I realized that if I gave it to somebody else, that I actually could be making more money if I gave it to somebody else. So stop working in the business and start working on the business. So there's a point, but before you do that, I think you need to know your business very well.
Sure.
Before you hand anything over to anybody else, because I don't know if that's a good point or not.
Well, it is. It's still the outcome that you want is still the outcome you want, but to release some of that to somebody else.
Yeah.
The goal for them is to get that outcome
Right,
that you want.
Yeah.
And if they can do that, that's great.
But you got to have, like you said, you have to know your business. You have to have invested that time and energy into it so that you know what to pass along to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just playing yo-yo with this person, and we've been there.
Yeah.
We're not entirely sure where we know what we want. We don't know exactly how to get it, and we're not always as communicative with that person for them to know what we want. So it seems like a little bit of a yo-yo back and forth. Here's the control. Oh, wait a minute. No, I got to take it back because I didn't tell you really what I wanted. So hold on a minute. I'll give you some more control. Take it back. And that can be frustrating for people.
That he's talking about himself now.
It's frustrating for me.
Okay.
Really. So.
Well, it's again part of learning and growing and making all of this what you envision it to be. And I think we've done. I'm thankful and grateful for what's been accomplished. I'm thankful and grateful for the guests that we've had,
me
that
too.
we've been able to exchange conversations and feel all of that. And I'm really excited about what is just ahead, because it's just as exciting to me with those things coming.
Well, it's made me for sure love thy neighbor even more.
Well, yeah,
You
like
know?
you talk
Like-
about the stories of the community, and everybody's got one and all that. But when it comes down to it, we become part of the story,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And we're finding that as the further and further we go with this, is that we are connecting in a different way with these people, and it's coming back around. You know, it's almost like a full circle type thing. You know, we'll see them out and about, and it's not just oh, we told your story and see you later.
Right. No.
It's more than that. We're even more connected with the community than we were previously, and I guess that's kind of an obvious thing, but it's been interesting to see.
Well, and that's why I think that the Small Business Leaders podcast, which was totally Lamar's, it's what you said we needed to start with. Like, you knew that this is what we needed to start with. And absolutely, you're absolutely 100% right. And again, we bring back, if it's a team, you've got to be able to sell the rest of us. We have to be in one accord. I mean, all of us are going to have crappy days and not feel like doing everything, but really, again, sitting down and saying, this is what I want to accomplish. And even I want to accomplish it by this date is the date that it needs to be done. Y'all know
You're good at doing that.
I do it.
But that's okay. That's
we
good.
drag our feet sometimes. So.
That's why I say you're the keeper of the calendar and the stopwatch. Let's go.
Well, I told this story was how when we began. It's in our other podcast of Adams Lane. So if you haven't seen that one, watch Adams Lane Photography Podcast. But the way that our studio even started, I don't even know if you know this. The way we started was I had something to say about another business, and they were not giving good. They
didn't have the tools necessary to promote
what I wanted to promote. And so I went on Marketplace and I found a chair. I called Daniel and I said, Daniel, we need to buy this chair. We're buying this chair. He said, okay. When? I was like, right now. I need you to go. It's not far from where you are. Go get the chair. And he's like, okay. And he went and got the chair. And he's like, what do you want me to do with the chair? I was like, well, come Monday, this Saturday, I was like, come Monday, we're recording a promo video for this. And he's like, but for where, Audra? I said, figure it out, Daniel. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And you best believe by Monday night, there was a production happening that turned into even what you see right here. So somebody's calling.
It's not me.
Not me. I thought it was me.
It's my mom. Do you know she always does that?
Should answer it.
It's your mother.
Hey, Mom, I'm on a podcast.
Hey, Mom.
Live.
Are you? Hey, honey. We're on a podcast right now. I just answered it. We're on camera. You want to say hi?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, you're on the mic.
Hi, everybody.
What do you want to tell them about, your daughter?
That she's the most wonderful, beautiful daughter in the world.
That was so good.
I love her so very much.
Well, Mama, I'll Venmo you in just a minute, okay? I love you. We're getting back to what we were doing. Bye.
Venmo me.
Venmo you. So we have all these things going. And number 1, start.
Get started.
Start.
Number 2, learn your business.
And enjoy the journey. Good
Yeah.
night. Just enjoy it.
Number 3, line up your content.
Yeah. Make your plans.
Yes. And don't, be ready to pivot. Always have a backup. That's what I would say. I don't know where number 4 was, but I feel like I gave 3. Y'all should give at least
Well, I
one.
gave
Well,
one.
I was
but it
agreeing
didn't
with you,
get-
so I think that was.
I don't think
synonymous.
that's the same.
Yeah, I just think it's the same.
I don't
We
think
said it earlier.
This is the wrap up, guys.
I know I'm feeling that, so I'm just going to
You've got
So look, who has been at this table? Hadn't it been amazing? Truly.
it has been.
It has been amazing. Now, here's the exciting thing. We want to do more, not only of just this, but other things.
Other
You
things-
have ideas.
Oh, it's coming. I've already got
yeah,
it.
that's exactly right. I have other ideas. You probably have plenty of ideas as well.
Yeah, but I don't know how I can make everybody's ideas work and my ideas, and so
It'll happen.
one day we'll get to my
It'll
ideas.
happen.
So
And
it's and we have the courage to do that
Yes.
now because of what we've learned.
right. So, big
cool.
fat main point is we're expanding, we're growing,
Yeah.
and at the same time, we continue to learn and try to implement what we are learning from our guests. We take those nuggets and we really do take them to heart. We're listening to what you're saying. So keep saying, keep talking, come on the podcast. We would love it. If you would like to be a guest on our podcast, please, on all social media, you can find us at Legacy Podcast Studio. You can find us on YouTube under that. You can find our website is legacypodcaststudio.com. And there are ways on all of those platforms that you can get in touch with us. And you can nominate somebody and say, hey, you really need to hear this story, and we will contact them. Or if you want to come on, do it. The other thing is, if you have an itch that you want to scratch with podcast, content creation, we have you covered from start to finish. And we're very reasonable, and we want you, we just want you in here. So does anybody have anything to say?
No, I think I'm good.
How
think
many
I'm good.
How many things did I say that you're going to edit out?
Oh, I don't think we.
No?
No, I think
I
we're
did good.
That's amazing.
I don't
I did good. Every time that's the
probably
edit.
even keep your mom in there.
Oh, okay. The one last thing I will say is I found it important is that we do debrief after every podcast. We do go and say, hey, how do you think that went? And what can we do better or different? So we are communicating on both sides of the production. That is one thing I will
And it's
leave
not
you.
just a business. We truly care
Yeah.
about what we do.
Yeah.
I do. I care very much. I know you guys do as well.
Absolutely.
That's
So
what we say
let's
it all the time.
keep doing it.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
Go
that's
team.
what we're gonna do.
See you next episode. Bye, y'all.